Kathy from Unity North Spiritual Center in Coon Rapids, Minnesota. So welcome. We are an inclusive community that welcomes and accepts all people. So whoever you are, wherever you are on your journey of faith, we welcome you and we're glad you're with us today. We're also part of a greater worldwide unity movement. We are the publishers of the Daily Word magazine, and we've been holding 131 years of prayer vigil through silent unity, the prayer of the unity. And so prayer is the heart and soul of unity. And we have our prayer chaplain with us today, and that is Karen Cox. She's waving, and bring it up way up to your screen. There's your number, 763-260-3510. If you have a prayer request, you can call her after service. And Karen, if you can put that on the chat as well, then people can go to the chat and find your number. And also today we have a healer with us. We have a healing ministry at Unity North, and our healing team leader, our new healing team leader is Cindy. She's been doing healing for many years and part of the healing ministry, but now she's our team leader. And she is available to do healing for you, long distance healing after service as well. So you can call her as well, and her number will also be on chat. So Karen for prayer and Cindy for long distance healing. So thank you both. And also today, our worship assistant is Wanda, and she is our board president as well. So glad you're with us today, Wanda. And Chris, our usual IT person, is out of town. And so we have Tracy and Martha filling in. So thank you, Tracy and Martha. And now we have our opening song, and I'm going to do more of a detailed bio for our guest speaker musician today. But for now, he's just going to perform his opening song first. So please just give a warm unity welcome. Show him your love to Greg Tamblyn.
Thank you, Kathy. This is called A Brief History of God. And it goes like this. In the beginning, there was lots of competition, goddesses and gods of every disposition, from merciful to mean, from laid back to hyper, and little baby gods that flew around in diapers. Animals, pranksters, destroyers, creators, flute players, lute players, nymphs and satyrs. So many gods, it was hard to keep them sorted. God had multiple personality disorder. Well, keeping track of all these gods was no fun. So finally some people said, let's cut it down to one. But the one God was angry, always finding fault. There was banishment and floods and pillars of salt. Well, why? Was God traumatized at an early age by standing too close to the Big Bang? Was it nature or nurture or Satan's little goblins? God had anger, management problems. And God had other issues that messed with serenity, like this long-term question of sexual identity. The feminine divine or the male autonomous? God was so confused. Am I androgynous? And then on top of that, what was challenging the most was trying to figure out what the heck's the Holy Ghost. God needed time off and checked into a clinic. Poor old God was becoming schizophrenic. filing for treatment. God sent some folks to teach us, like Krishna, Buddha, Mohammed, Jesus. On some things they agree, on other things they don't. And if you choose the wrong one, some say your soul is toast. Now everybody's praying by all these different rules. Muslims 5 times a day, Buddhists quite a few, Hindus, Jews, and Christians whenever there's a need, and Unitarians would rather plant a tree. Well, God's come a long way from that early dysfunction, and now science has brought us to this beautiful junction. The key to the theory is that every single thing is made up entirely of vibrating strings. Well, this is what musicians have known all along. The universe is really one big song. And there you have it, friends. That's the story so far. We're all just musical strings in God's big guitar. All right. Thank you. Thank you. I know it's a happy thought. We're always vibrating, so stay in tune.
That's awesome. Thank you, Greg, for that uplifting opening. And welcome, everyone. We're glad to have you with us this morning. And we do have everyone on mute, and we will invite anyone that wishes to stay afterwards to the social time, and we'll unmute you, or you can unmute yourself at that point. And today, at this point in our service, we will do our prayer requests. So since we are virtual, we will just hold those in our hearts and minds, knowing that the divine will hear those requests and honor them with us. So let's just take a few moments to say those requests out loud or within your heart. All right, and we pray, Father, Mother, God, thank you for the answering of these prayers in advance. And we say, thank you, and so it is. Amen. Now today's daily word for Sunday, June 13th is world peace. Peace shared between people spreads throughout the world. I contribute to world peace when I join in spirit with all people who dedicate themselves to expressing divine love, united in the belief that God is within everyone. I affirm the divinity of humankind and honor each person as a unique expression of God. I recognize and release any unkind thoughts or feelings towards any person or group of people. I respect that all others seek and learn more about the customs and beliefs that are unfamiliar to me as I grow in a spirit of kinship. I believe a warm, friendly attitude communicates my intentions as effectively as my words. I smile easily and extend myself to others in a spirit of friendship. I remain mindful that as peace flowers between individuals, peace grows in the world. And from Micah 4:3, nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. World peace. And now Reverend Kathy is going to tell us more about Greg.
All right. Well, Greg Tamblyn has been a successful singer, songwriter, speaker, and humorist for over 25 years. He has an NCW after his name, which he says means no credentials whatsoever. He combines outstanding audience rapport with an irreverent sense of humor and has a special interest in the relationship of music, laughter, and lifestyle to physical and emotional well-being. His humorous musings on cultural absurdities, as well as his messages of optimism and service, have garnered him a large international following and many awards through the years. In 2018, he was the Unity Worldwide Ministries Grace Note honoree for lifetime achievement in positive music. He's become well known for his inspiring songs as well as his off-the-wall send-ups of modern life, such as the Shootout at the I'm Okay, You're Okay Corral, My Life is a Beer commercial, and Analog Brain in a Digital World, just to name a few. Along with 7 CDs, Greg has a book of stories from the road called Attila the Gate Agent, Travel Tales and Life Lessons from a Musical Laughologist. After reading it, best-selling author Dr. Larry Dossey was inspired to call Greg a contemporary Mark Twain. So based for many years in Nashville, Greg now lives in Kansas City and performs throughout the world for a wide variety of groups interested in wellness. I've known Greg for over 25 years from my first ministry and have invited him to perform at all of my former churches. So I'm delighted he's here with us today. And let's just give him another really warm welcome. Thank you, Greg.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. Wow, what a great intro. I'll try to live up to that. And thanks so much for your support and your friendship over 25 years. You know, it's actually longer than that, but it means more than you know. I love the fact that we go all the way back to Tempe, and I've been to all of your churches ever since then, 3 or 4 that you've been to. So thank you very much. And all you folks in Coon Rapids, thanks for tuning in. I have some really fun material I want to share with you about the sacred and the silly as pathways to the joy of now, of this moment. And to get into this, what I'd like to do is actually go back about 800 years, halfway around the world, ancient Persia, the Sufi mystic poets that were writing then. Most of us in Unity are familiar with Rumi. Some of us are also familiar with Rumi's lesser known contemporary Hafez, H-A-F-I-Z, Hafez, who was writing at the same time as Rumi, also deep, profound, beautiful poetry. In Hafez's case, also occasionally or frequently whimsical, which I love. So 800 years ago, Hafez said this: what is the difference between your experience of existence and that of a saint? The saint knows that the spiritual pathway is a sublime chess game with God, and that the beloved has just made such a fantastic move that the saint is now tripping over joy, bursting out in laughter and saying, I surrender. Whereas, my dear, I'm afraid you still think you have 1,000 serious moves. Well, it's good, isn't it? I can relate to this really, really well, because 30 years ago, life got very serious for me in a very quick, short time, and I was in trauma. I was in trouble about every way you can be in trouble. So mental, emotional, it was really kind of a serious mental illness. It's a long story. We don't have time for it. You just need to know it was scary. There was a lot of despair. So a very definite low point. You know, have you had a low point? If you've had a low point, you know what I'm talking about. You know how it motivates you to get better, to find out what's wrong. So I was looking at my life I was trying to figure out what happened, how I got to be the way that I was, and come up with some kind of excuse. So this is what I figured out at that time. This is called Just a Little Soul Hanging Out in Space, this song. Well, I was just a little soul hanging out in space, getting ready to come into the human race. And God came over and he said to me, well, kid, what you want to be? It's time for you to go get a life. But you don't have to have no struggle or strife. You can live a life of comfort and ease, worldly pleasures, do as you please. I can give you parents with lots of money, Southern California, bright and sunny, tall and handsome, a movie star, fancy parties, expensive cars, or maybe an athlete with rhythm and grace. You could do the Olympics, win every race, confidence just oozing from you, and the women, they're gonna love you. Or maybe you'd like to help those in low places, like a Peace Corps worker, Mother Teresa. But you know, when it's all said and done, being the Pope is a lot more fun. Or how about a yogi with magical powers? You could levitate for hours and hours and teach everybody to walk on hot coals, sell books and CDs by the truckloads. Well, what do you say, kid? You make the call. You can have any party, you can have it all. You just tell me what you want to be, and I'll give it to you. It's my guarantee, yeah. Well, God looked at me with a puzzled brow, shook his head and just said, holy cow. For a minute he stood there, pulling his beard, and then he said, kid, you're pretty darn weird. And I know you're just playing the fool, but this time, kid, the joke's on you. And then he grinned at me and he yelled, Shazam! And wait a minute, wrong verse. Sorry, I went to the wrong verse. Okay, we'll go back to... Okay, here we go. Well, I just stood there with my mouth open because, you know, that's just what I'd been hoping. But while I was deciding to choose which one, I thought, well, maybe I'll just have me some fun. Because me and God, see, we're pretty tight. And I know God likes a good joke, all right. So I figure I'll pull his leg for a while, see if I can't make the old boy smile. So I say, Father, oh mine, you know, all that glory, to tell you the truth, sounds kind of boring. I want a life with some challenge to it. You know, something I gotta work to get through it. I don't want fame and easy success. I want to be shamed and easily depressed with various physical and mental afflictions, and might as well throw in multiple addictions. I don't need life to be a sweet dream. I want writer's block and low self-esteem, sensitive skin and food allergies, and when I get around girls, make me sneeze. Make me wish that I had more height. Give me claustrophobia, stage fright, prone to worry, riddled with doubt, thinking I'll never figure life out. Yeah, that's it, God. That's what I want to have. And then I just shut up so he could laugh. God looked at me with a puzzled brow, shook his head and just said, holy cow. For a minute he stood there, pulling his beard, and then he said, kid, you're pretty darn weird. And I know you're just playing the fool, but this time, kid, the joke's on you. And then he grinned at me and he yelled, Shazam! And that's my story, and here I am. Oh my goodness, I have never skipped the whole second verse before in 30 years of playing that song. That's never happened. That's hilarious. So, you know, I hope you can relate. Well, maybe. I mean, maybe you can relate. If you can relate, maybe you got here the same way. You know, Will Rogers said, if you find yourself in a hole, the first thing is stop digging. And that's right. You know, we have to have some awareness, some consciousness around what we think about all day, because it tends to show up. Our thoughts are powerful. The good news about that is, if we own that, if we take responsibility for our lives, then there's hope there, right? There's power there. Because if I'm the problem in my life, I'm also what? The problem in everyone else's life. I love that little joke. So, we got to take responsibility for our lives. Now, there's a great little line in the Gospel of Thomas. It says, if you bring forth that which is inside you, it will save you. If you don't bring it forth, it may destroy you. It also says that. So we need to be who we are. Now let me ask you this, along these lines. Are you familiar with an artist, a painter, named Donald Roller Wilson? You can see this page is pretty beat up. I've had it for a while. Donald Roller Wilson, he's an amazing artist. All he paints are these gothic, detailed, realistic, exquisite paintings of animals like chimpanzees, dogs, cats, dressed up in clothes, doing bizarre things. You see this little chimp here, this little girl chimp in her medieval costume with a couple of matches, you know. He's just so whimsical. But the reason I saved this, I cut it out of the Airline magazine. That's where I learned about him. I love this quote that he has. He says, it takes all the arrogance out of everything you do when you know that God is so much bigger than you are. And yet, everything you are and do and see is filled with God. The trees, the asphalt, the people fighting over Aquanet at Walmart. He says, that sounds silly, but silliness is just as important as love, just as important as tragedy. You can make a profound intellectual statement just by basing your efforts on silliness. Well, I agree completely. You've probably seen this Robin Williams movie, Patch Adams. It's about 20 years old. Most of us have seen it. If you're lucky enough, you might have seen the real Patch Adams, either live or online. The real Patch Adams give a talk about health or wellness. The real Patch Adams is a medical doctor who is still going strong. He's in his late 60s. He's physically, he's not like Robin Williams. Robin Williams was, short, 5'9", about my size. Patch is about 6'6". Very thin, slender, beanpole. He's got long gray hair down to mid-thigh, usually half dyed blue or purple. Patch is a medical doctor who dresses like a clown every day, all day. He's a clown doctor. Patch has figured out that clowning, silliness, playfulness are the ways that he can inflict love and compassion on the people he meets every day, on the world. So this is who he is, this is what he does. He's almost finished building the first silly hospital in the world, the Gesundheit Institute. It's in West Virginia. You can look it up. You can go there, volunteer. So point being, this is one person being silly in a profound way. And he's created a wave that ripples all around the world continuously. Conferences, medicine, wellness, healthcare. Patch has created a wave that has affected all of these areas and continues to do so because he's being silly in a heartfelt, profound way. So That's my point. But I've been around Patch several times. I've heard him say frequently that he feels like the world is wallowing in misery. Think about that. Isn't that right? The world is wallowing in misery. And that one of the most radical things you can do in our culture is to have a good day and show it. Well, that's not radical to us in Unity. We teach that. But let me ask you this. We all know, without a doubt, that life is serious. If we forget that life is serious, we can turn on the TV news for 2 minutes and we get reminded how serious life is. But are you like me? Have you ever had the particular gift or talent of making life even more serious than it already is? Because I'm an expert at this. I can forget everything in minutes and just revert. So I wrote a song about this for myself. You can see if this relates to you, if this helps you at all. It's called Writer's Block, or the long-term positive and negative effects of worry. I was worried about not writing any songs. No words, no tunes, nothing for way too long. I was worried I'd never write again. Maybe there was no more ink in my pen. And I thought about that, and I began to feel ashamed. I was ashamed that I'd been worried about not writing. I'd been through droughts before and come out fighting. It seemed like my worry was out of control, and I was ashamed about it down to my soul. And then it hit me what I was doing, and I started feeling guilty. I was guilty that I could let myself feel shame over something so insignificant as this writing game. I thought I'd released that stuff long ago, and I felt guilty that I had such a long way to go. And then I realized what I was doing, and I got embarrassed. I was embarrassed that my shame could make me feel guilty. All these negative thought patterns, man, it was silly. If someone could see inside my head, they'd give me a drug and put me to bed. Yeah, I was embarrassed, and that made me mad. I was angry that I could be so immature. I was angry at me, down on myself for sure. And as my anger turned into resentment, I thought about what the long-term effects of that meant, and then I realized what I was doing to my body, and I began to feel afraid. I was afraid of what I was doing to myself. All these negative emotions affecting my health. If body and mind are so interconnected, my shame, guilt, worry, and fear were making me infected, and I was afraid that I was becoming depressed. And as I began to sink into depression, the effect on my body and mind became an obsession. The outcome of this could not be in doubt, and that gave me something new to worry about. I knew that I might not be around for too long, so I wrote it all down and I had a new song. And when I thought about that, I was fine again. Pretty silly. Pretty silly, but there's great joy in that. See, there's great joy in taking something restrictive and limiting and bothersome and turning it inside out or upside down, reframing it with humor so it's not such a big deal anymore. Both of those songs were about reframing challenges with humor so that now I have control over them instead of the reverse. It's a suspiciously healthy thing to practice, reframing with humor, cutting things down to size with humor. And worry is the enemy of joy, right? Because if we're worried, are we in this moment? Where are we? Well, we're in the past or the future, but we're not here. And the thing is, it's okay to look at the past and the future, just don't stare. A lot of us get in the habit of staring. It's easy to do. We get lots of encouragement from our culture to stare at the past and the future, to hold resentments, to be worried. We get a lot of encouragement for that. I heard the Grand Master, Mel Brooks, talking about this on television on 60 Minutes. And he said, Socrates told us it's good to know thyself. He said, but I've learned it's way better to now thyself. Now thyself. He said we need more people living in the now, living every day like this is our last day. Which is why I never have any clean clothes, because who wants to do laundry on the last day? Another little joke. Well, silliness, playfulness, humor, and laughter are great ways to now thyself. Great ways to stop staring at the past and the future and just come back to the moment, the present moment, the gift of the moment, which psychologists, saints, sages have all told us is all we have, is right now. But we forget. We forget. We're busy. Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven is where? Within. And he said, to enter the kingdom of heaven, you must be like a child. Every 4-year-old knows this. We knew it when we were 4 years old. We've just forgotten because, like I said, we're busy. Well, this is a theory I have. You don't have to buy this, but I think it's a cultural problem. I think it's because our country was colonized to a great extent by the Puritans from England. Remember that? They were so serious, the Puritans, that the English kicked them out. H.L. Mencken said that a Puritan is someone who's worried that somehow, somewhere, somebody might be having a good time. So we all have a little bit of that cultural Puritan DNA. The good side of it is work, work, work. We all know how to work hard. We still outwork everybody in the industrialized world. But if you're like me and you grow up serious, then there's a bit of a challenge with that lightening up aspect. So my belief about this is, it's really simple. All of the gifts that we come to God for, all of these qualities, all of the grace and the strength and the power and the hope and the health and the forgiveness and the peace and the joy, all of the love that we come to God for is always here, every moment. God never takes a break. It's always, always available. But we forget. Why? Because we live in the U.S. of stress. The United, what's my friend calls it, the excited states of America. You know, we have a lot of busy, important grown-up stuff to do, and we got to get it done. And so we forget about lightening up, about just coming back to the moment. And this is why silliness, humor, laughter, they're so important for us to inculcate, to practice. Now, people ask me all the time, they say, Greg, okay, you're right, I am busy. And, I haven't been a 4-year-old for a long time. How do I do this? How I don't have all day to spend on this. And I'm like, yeah, okay, so the easiest way that I know that works for me, the easiest way to get started is this comedic practice, long-standing comedic practice of trying not to give a serious answer to any question that doesn't require it. Okay, they'll say, okay, so how do I do that? How do I get started doing that? And I'll say, well, again, what works for me, what's the one question you get asked all the time, all day long? How are you? How you doing? How's it going? All day long. How you doing? And what do we normally say? Fine, good, okay, fantastic. We'll go out on a limb. We'll say fantastic or great, but that's about it, really. And we know people don't really want to know how we're doing most of the time. It's just a greeting. So what if instead of that, when somebody says, how you doing? You say, well, I'm still getting away with it. Or, how you doing? Parts of me are excellent. Or, how you doing? My tattoos are spreading. Or, how you doing? My lawyer said not to answer that. Or, how you doing? You can see me? Obviously, there's a million things you could say. And what I suggest is that you get a couple of these to use, to practice with. Put them in your mental back pocket and just pull them out all day long. Try them, see which ones work best for you in what situations. Now, I'm going to give you a little quick example of how this can work. I got on Southwest Airlines to fly home from someplace, and you know how when you get on Southwest, you board in the galley, and there's a flight attendant there to make sure you turn right to go down to the seats and not left into the cockpit. They don't want you flying the plane. So I get on board Southwest, and here's this lovely flight attendant right there in the galley, and she says, welcome aboard. How you doing? And I said, I'm hungry. Steak and lobster for lunch? She thought that was funny, and she laughed, and she said, sure. How do you like your steak? And I said, rare. And she said, well, that's good, because any steak on this airline would be extremely rare. We both cracked up, and I said, well done. And I went back to my seat, and I don't know what this did for her, but it changed my whole day. Everything went up a level. Everything went up a big notch, just because she and I had created this really hilarious moment out of nothing, just out of giving a goofy answer. And I think it changed her day too, because every time she came down the aisle, we would lock eyes and smile, sometimes have a little laugh. Well, that's what can happen. Now, you're not always going to hit a home run like that. Sometimes you're just going to fall flat. People are going to look at you like you're completely weird. That's fine. Doesn't matter. You're giving yourself permission to have fun and be playful. And what happens is, if you just say, all right, I'm going to try this for a couple of weeks. I'm going to go get a couple of these answers, and I'm going to try. And if you just make it a habit, then you find your brain starts to change. And then you start answering other questions in a goofy way and trying stuff out. Like, here's another question you get asked all the time. What do you do? So people ask me this all the time that I meet. What do you do? Well, I have on hearing aids. What? I sell hearing aids. I have a lot of answers to that question too. And lots of others. Quick little tip. If you want some great ideas for answers to how you doing, I put some on my blog. You can go to my website. It's gregtamblyn.com. And there's a menu link for the humor blog. And if you click on humor blog, you'll see an article that says, how you doing? And there's a couple dozen great answers in that article to the question, and you can just try them out. Okay? It's right there waiting for you. It's okay to be playful. In fact, it's important. Your life may depend on it. All right, so silliness is a great way to know thyself. It's not the only way. you come to this church, Unity of Coon Rapids, or Unity of, what was it, Northern Minnesota? I forget the exact name, but I think of it as Coon Rapids. So you know about meditation and prayer. You know about service and gratitude. You know about powerful feelings of connection and love. These are all things that tend to bring us back into the now. So the thing I just want to touch on for a minute is the experience of the sacred. Now, what I'm referring to when I say sacred is the mystical connotation of this word. One of the things that I did 30 years ago when I got down in that dark hole of despair, I was so scared that I had ruined my life, that I would never have a good day again, that my brain was never going to function properly again, was I went back to reading mystics. I had gotten away from that for a long time, and I rediscovered descriptions of the mystical experience of joining with God. And just to be clear, what I'm talking about here is merging with God so totally, so completely, that there's only God. The little self, the little soul, disappears into the big self, the big soul. And God is all there is. Everything is God. This is the mystical experience of God. Everything is God. It's not an intellectual experience. It's a consciousness experience. Well, the mystics that have achieved this state and written about it have left amazing descriptions. The vocabulary is so similar across the traditions and down through the ages. Words like ecstasy, nirvana, rapture, ultimate bliss, joy beyond description, cosmic consciousness, unity consciousness. It's very inspiring. It really helped me to get out of my hole, because I figured if it's possible for humans to live at that level, way up there, then it had to be possible for me to just get well again. So it really helped. So what I want to do is just finish up with a little meditation, a little mystical experience using prayer and music, just for a couple of minutes. So what I'd like you to do is to relax in your chair. And you know how this goes. Just take some slow breaths. Let your body release all of its tension. Let your mind go to peace. Release all thoughts and just give yourself permission to hear this music and the sound of my voice, and see where it takes you for about 2 minutes. Let all things be healthy. Let all things be peaceful. Be sure to count your blessings at least once a day. Forgive those who have hurt you and those who have offended you. But forgive yourself for what you have done and for that which you have failed to do. That which is done there is no need to speak of, and that which is past there is no need to blame. Have self-control, self-knowledge, self-respect, and the courage to dare. Be tranquil. The light of intelligence will shine. And and strive to make a spot where you stand beautiful. Then the beauty and harmony will follow you in all your days and in all your ways. On this journey we call life. Okay, let's take a big breath, open our eyes, and come back to the screen. And I want to thank you very much for the gift of your attention. I'm going to finish up with another song in a minute, but right now, while we're in this real still, connected space, I'm going to turn it back to Wanda for our offering blessing time. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. What a wonderful, silly message today. It's awesome. Thank you. And now we are going to do our tithes and offerings. And so if you physically have them with you, you can take them in your hand. Otherwise, just hold them in your heart, in your imagination. And together, let's do the offering blessing. Divine love flowing through me now blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And I am grateful. And as always, you can make your donations by scanning the QR code to your phone or going to our website to hit the donate button or get the address to mail in a physical check. And now Greg is going to share a special video with us for our offering blessing.
Okay, thank you, Wanda. So I'm just going to adjust the volume here for the video, but before I do that, I forgot to mention that the words to that prayer, if you're interested in those are also on the blog. So you can go to the blog and get the Chinese prayer. All right, so we're going to just bring the video down a little bit, and I'm going to share my screen. And this is a song I wrote about the connectedness of everything. It's a little bit of a science lesson. I tried to put a sense of humor and a sense of wonder together in the song. Well, recently, during COVID, a friend of mine decided to make a really cute video, a timely video to this song. So I think you'll enjoy it. I hope so. And it's called All These Atoms. Okay, so here we go.
I breathe in, we're sharing molecules again. Oxygen and hydrogen, but do you know where your atoms have been? Parts of me were once in you, Genghis Khan and Hitler too. Jesus Christ and dinosaurs, Princess Diana, Dinah Shore. All the atoms everywhere circle back so we can share. No escaping, yes it's true. Parts of me were once in you. My whole body, smooth and hairy, is really very temporary. we conceive. All the atoms everywhere circle back so we can share, like some ever-changing group. Parts of me are now in you. As hard as it might seem to be, parts of you were once a tree, once a fish in the primal soup. Something's dinner, something's poop. 15 billion years ago, the Big Bang was quite a show. All this time and now here we are. Parts of you were once a star. All the atoms everywhere circle back so we can share. No escaping, yes it's true. Parts of me were once in you. All the atoms here on earth get recycled, death to birth, like some ever-changing brew. Parts of me are now in you. All these atoms we've collected only mean that we're connected. Since we share what we're made of, don't you think that calls for love?
Thank you, Greg. That was awesome.
Thank you. Yep, my pleasure.
All right, now we're going to do our community news. As always, Sunday services are on Zoom at 10:30 Central Time, and all events can be found on our unitynorthmn.org website. Healers, we would like to expand our healing team, so please contact Cindy Huberty, our new healing team leader. Her phone number is there with any questions or to join the healers team. And training sessions are scheduled for Monday, June 28th at 6:30. And a book study group, first Mondays during the summer, started on June 7th, continues on July 5th and August 2nd, of exploring our racism. It's emerged from our last class that we had, racism and white fragility, but everyone is welcome to attend. And the book that they'll be using, Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man, is listed there. And to please read each section before the next class. All right, and Carl's shaman class, Restoring the Sacred, Return to the Center, is Tuesday, June 15th. So that's this coming Tuesday from 7 to 9 p.m. via Zoom. And Reverend Kathy has Bible Metaphysics and Archetypes coming up for 4 Wednesdays, starting this Wednesday, June 16th through July 7th, and that runs 6:30 to 8 p.m. And that will also be on Zoom, and listing there is the different topics for each week. So we invite everyone to join those activities.
So before we move to a prayer for protection, just take note of Greg's website here. And he said if you could just go to GT Songs directly, all his songs are there. You can download them for free.
No,
No?
You
Have
can
a rock,
listen for free.
huh?
You can listen.
Listen to them for free. Sorry, not download them. Listen for free, and then you can buy them. Yeah, so I want to thank everybody today. Thank you so much, Tracy and Martha, for assisting with the service. Wonderful job. And for Wanda as worship assistant. And a special thank you to Greg. Wonderful to have you with us. And every time you uplift our spirits. So it's very funny and poignant. Thank you. Give him another big hand.
Thank you.
And let's together say our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And now let's join in our peace song.
That was meant to be, with God as our creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment. This be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
All right. Thank you, everyone. And now we invite everyone to join us for social time. You can unmute yourself.